Hi guys, welcome back. Tonight we're going to be attempting to replace the OEM screen. First time I've done this, so no idea if it's going to work. It's finally arrived, but we have a rather large 14-inch screen here to replace our factory fitted one. I'm assuming the tools we need for this are T20s and pry tools, which I've already grabbed, but we'll see how we go. First thing we need to do is remove this part of the dashboard here. So it's going to go ahead and just pull it out. If it's tight, you can get your pry tools in there. Just watch out for the side where the passenger is, because it gets very, very skinny up there and we don't want to break it. So that's going to come off. Under here we've got two connectors that we need to release. So one under here, like so, and the other one's a bit more fiddly, but it's inside the gap there. But once you've got it, that will just pull out. There is just enough room to get it out, because I have had this out before. There we go. There's our air vent, and we'll go ahead and set that down in the back so it's somewhere safe, because we really don't want to scratch our trims. Next thing we need to do is grab our T20, and we've got two screws in here that hold the head unit on the screen, and we've got another two here that hold the heater in, and also we need to pop this part off here like so, and there's another plug under there, and set that aside, and we've got two screws at the bottom here. So we need to remove all 6 of these screws. They should all be the same, so it doesn't really matter where they go back into. I'm just going to pop them in a cup holder so I know where they are. This video may be a little bit clunky because I've not actually even read the instructions for this yet. It arrived a few hours ago, and I'm a little bit excited to get it fitted. It's the mod I've wanted to do for probably since I've had the car, to actually give us Apple CarPlay, whereas my current one, I don't have access to any kind of maps. It's purely just the iDrive. There we go. So those 4 are out. This can come out now, and there's one connector at the far end. Give it a wiggle and out it will pop. We'll set that down somewhere safe. Now we have the stereo here with another 2 T20s. That needs to come out. I found it's actually easier to take the CD player part out here before we take the screen out, because the cable that runs between them is quite a tight fit. It's worth noting, if you've got the navigation system on your car, your CD player will be doubled in that it will fit this whole gap. So you may have less room to be able to fit all of your cables that you need to run for the new screen. So it might be a bit harder to fit it, but it shouldn't be horrendous. That's it, those screws are out. That can now move forward. We'll take out our two screws to release the screen. I'd strongly suggest using a Torx screwdriver for this rather than kind of an L wrench, I think they'd call them in America, like your traditional Allen keys, but Torx. Just makes it a bit quicker, speeds up the job. There we go, that's all our screws out. Now the screen will just pull upwards, give it a wobble. There we go. And underneath here we've got one connector. And if we pull the radio forward, that gives us a little bit more slack. These are traditionally a pain in the ass to get out, especially if yours hasn't been removed for a while. I'm hoping this one won't be too bad, because I've only had the screen out the other day. But squeeze the connector, give it a wobble, and hopefully it will just pop out. Yeah, it is going. Just need to give it some more wobbling and try not to damage it. You think it isn't going, and then it just pops off. There we go. So to give you an idea, it's a 6-pin connector like this. We'll set that screen to one side. So now what we need to do is have a look at how we're going to rebuild all of this. So we've got our new screen. It looks like the 6-pin connector plugs in the bottom of it, and then the wiring harness plugs into that. We've got a bunch of cables. So what we've got in here, we've got our wired CarPlay USB cables, and if you wanted to put any video onto the screen, what I'm probably going to do is run these through into the glove box, probably come out the side of the glove box somewhere, just so it's hidden but can still be accessed. And then we've got a patch cable. We can have a rear camera. I didn't think to order the rear camera, so we won't be fitting one tonight. And hopefully they are actually written on them what all of these are. So we've got ACC out, aux out, lots of other things written on there, but should be pretty straightforward. The one that I have heard we will need is aux out, and I don't know whether the cable that comes with it is actually going to reach. It might do, but we'll find out. I'll certainly be changing it, because the ones it comes with is just a straight connector, whereas I'd quite like to put a right angled one in just to make it look a little bit tidier. But we'll go ahead and plug that in. On this connector here, we have to take the radio out and take off the 2 fibre optic connectors and plug them in there. So we'll do that now. It's relatively straightforward to do. So we'll pull that out. So there's our thing there. And what I've actually just noticed is my car doesn't have fibre optic cables in there, so I guess we don't really have to worry about that. But what we do is we'll take this one, get it the right way up, and just clip it into the car's wiring loom. That should then give our new screen access to the systems that are on the car, like the steering wheel controls and all the good iDrive stuff. Put that on there. We'll clip the other end back into the radio. That's a bit of a faff, but we'll get there. It probably doesn't help that it is the finest Chinese in. No, that's got it. We'll push that and lock that down. Now we can look at how the screen's going to fit. So it does come with a secondary bracket here. So it looks like we need to run all the cables we need up through the bracket. And then the screen and this just seem to slot together quite easily. I reckon that might be easier to do it once we've got the cables plugged into the screen. But we'll see how we get on. We can always change it. So I'm just going to run the cables up through the dash using the same run that they would for genuine cables, so I can see the normal screen cable in there. So I'm actually just going to follow the exact same run that BMW run them, because that way we know it's not going to foul on anything. If you don't want to, you probably don't need to run the USB cables. If you don't think you're going to be using them, I guess there's no point. But I don't think I'm going to be using them, but it's nice to have the option if we want to later on. So that's our USB one run. We've now got the one for our screen, which is a bit fatter, but hopefully we can get that through in exactly the same way. push that up. I'm going to go the other side to the one I've just run, just to make it a little bit more even. And you've got to move the air vents out of the way slightly to be able to get them through, and then up through the hole at the top. If I'm honest, this could do with being a little bit longer, just because there's a lot of connectors and plugs and stuff to try and push through. I think they're all through now. And we'll pop in that part of it. Just need our screen cable to come through a little bit more. If we kind of push the radio back in, there is more slack now on that. So we'll, I guess, kind of pop them through there, and then see if we can get all of these plugged in and see if the screen powers up. I'm not sure whether we're going to get any form of sound until the aux cable's plugged in. I'd like to think that it runs off the car's system, but I honestly have no idea until we power it up and see what happens. There we go, that's the screen plugged in. And the last one we need to do is try and get our purple 6-pin connector plugged in that we unplugged at the very beginning. It's quite tight for cables, but so far easy enough. Of course, this one's going to be a sod to get back in, because it was a sod to get out. And you can't get your head in there enough to be able to see anything. It doesn't help that they put a windscreen in the way. Right, there we go. That's my 6-pin connector plugged in. And we'll see if we can now get the bracket onto the back of the unit. Not easily is the answer to that one. And then we'll just pull the wires down. There we go. And that's our screen fitted. Now what we need to do is put the car back together and see if it works. So we'll start by, we'll push the radio back in, I think. But no, we won't. We'll pull the USBs out. And until I get round to wiring the USBs in, because I don't think they're ever going to get used, I'm literally just going to poke them down into the passenger footwell somewhere and hope that they'll disappear off into the abyss for now, because I'm not overly bothered about them. The next one I need is the aux cable, which I want to come out underneath the radio. So we'll just take that and pop it round underneath, because on this one there is quite a lot of room underneath my radio. So we'll just pop it under there, pop our radio back in, give it a push, give it a wiggle, make sure all our cables are free and not blocking anything. You can probably see a lot of the new stereo head unit cables here between the two air vents, but that should be okay, hopefully. If not, we'll find out. Let's just see if it powers up for now. Oh, it's on. Will we get any sound? Now apparently this one also works with the iDrive controller, but I guess we'll find out. It does indeed work with the iDrive controller. We want original car interface. Nope, that's CarPlay. My mistake. To actually tell what it's on. Okay, so that's our original one, which it doesn't seem to be brilliant. I don't know whether it's a connector or what it is. I might have to look in the instructions and see what it says. We'll just come back out of it. Let's see what the instructions say. I've got the instructions here. To be fair, for a Chinese product, they're actually pretty good instructions, pretty clear, pretty concise. So we need to go to setup, and then car settings, original car screen's resolution, there it is at the top. Select the correct resolution as per your car original screen resolution. If I'm honest, I have absolutely no idea. I'm pretty sure it's a CIC system, so we'll try that one. And then return. And then it says, please make sure to restart the car after changing the resolution. So we'll turn it off. And back on again. Wait for it to reload, and then hopefully it works. And as you can see, I'm apparently recording voice audio, which is lucky because I am. And we've got everything on here that I think we used to have, which is good. We've got our sports displays, and it's a much bigger screen. I'm pretty chuffed with that. So that's all set up. Sound set up. We might have to plug the heater part in for that. So let's go ahead and do that now, actually. I'll be interested as to whether we've actually got any sound. Well, obviously, it may not work because it thinks I'm on a telephone call. So what I'll have to do is test that afterwards, and if not, it's just a case I've got to plug in, annoyingly, the aux cable, but unfortunately, it is what it is. But what we can do now, I'm relatively happy that it's working, is we're just going to screw everything back in. So we've got 2 for the radio, 4 for the heater controls, and the radio volumey bits. Just turn that off. I think that's made quite a big difference to the look of the dashboard, a little bit more modern feel. I'm glad it doesn't change it to the latest BMW infotainment system. Personally, I think it's a bit crap. And at some point I will probably be adding a reversing camera to it. Not that I need help reversing. Okay, no, yeah, I do need help reversing. Also, I would quite like to fit some kind of detachable tow bar to the car. I know it's a bit of a sacrilege for what the car is, but I do need to tow smallish trailers and boats occasionally, and currently I haven't got anything with a tow bar. Let's make sure that's down far enough. Little red parts up far enough so you can actually get the screws in the holes. That one just kind of missed the hole and sent the screw going in a funny direction and lifted the screen up. feel like that one's going to do as well. Let's see if we can get the other side in. Or just throw the screws on the floor. Right, whatever. Because these are quite wide-headed screws, it makes it quite difficult to actually get them into the holes. Got that one in. Again, and get it back in. These screws are pretty horrific to get back in. They weren't with the original style screen. I don't know whether it's not the best fitment or what it is, but yeah, trying to get the screws to line up with the holes that they've got to go in isn't easy. Well, I guess keep plodding away. I'm going to come back to that one, but we'll put the faceplate back on. That can go back on there again. Push that wiring in a bit. There we go. And do the 4 screws up on this. I did just notice on the instructions there's a wire in here that says disconnect for CIC systems to avoid noise disruption. So I'm not overly sure what that's all about, but I've still got the centre part off here, so I can still get to it, I can still see it. What I have to do, I think, is turn my Bluetooth off, so my phone's not connected to the car. Hopefully it's still actually recording using the microphone, rather than trying to record from the car and you've not actually be able to hear me this whole time. Let's go again. We'll wait for it to boot up, and then we're going to go to get rid of that original car interface, settings. It's worth noting on this, if you touch the screen it goes back to the head unit system. So we want to go settings, connections, Bluetooth,